Okay, so I think today is day 20 of Playwright. Day 20 of Playwright, and the objective for today, right, would be to discuss about the next level of things, which are assertions. How do you apply assertions in Playwright? And then we'll check in the reporting part. We know we don't have to do anything about the default reporting which Playwright gives, but we want to, let's say, attach some screenshots to the report, which we currently could not see there, right? We'll see the screenshots part on the reports and how to do that, right, on the reports. So these are the two things which I have in mind for the agenda. In the last class, we covered about JavaScript, shadow DOMs, and scrolling, right? So I hope it was clear. So let's start with this part. Again, let's open the website, the Playwright Dev. If you go by the API, what we are discussing is, so if you see, right, almost all the classes which are required for you to work on web, right, we have covered almost every one of them, right? Maybe one or two is pending, but those are of very less value, so I might have not covered, right? But there are some classes here with respect to the APIs. If you would be interested in learning APIs, I would recommend you to read these things, right, on the classes part, and it will make clear. What we have to discuss today is this assertions, okay? The assertions, and over here, particularly, we are interested in learning generic, locator, and the page assertions. So on the assertion side, there are three things. One is a generic one. When I say generic, right, it means that there is no async operation involved. Okay, no async operation. It's like you are checking some text. Let's say I want to compare Akhil with Akhil, right? And you have them already stored in some variables, right? So there is no operation required to go to the web and extract something from it, right? So it's just that you have both the values, actual and expected, and you want to compare. So you might decide to use generic assertions, okay? And there are a lot of options within it. But and this is how things works in normally in almost all the libraries, whether it's Selenium and all. So what you do is see what is okay. Let's first understand what are assertions, right? Assertions are a way for you to mark your test cases pass or fail, right, based on some checks which you would do. Like if you compare yourself a manual test case, let's say a manual test cases, you are given a credential, you log in, and you want to validate whether the user which you see on the screen after login is the same for which you logged in. Okay, so here what would be your assertion? You would have the username and password, and you might be having the expected result. Let's say, right, let's say on once you log in, on the rightmost side you see a username, right? Let's say username or the complete name of the user, right? So that is your expected result, and you already would be having it. Let's say Akhil Jain, right? So you would be having it. Now you need an actual result also to compare it against. So what you do? You will extract that information from the screen, right? Whatever you see here, right? If it matches to what you have in the expected result, right, you will say my test case passed. But if it does not match, you will say my test case failed, right? Right now, how do you pass or fail a test case? You pass and fail the test case first by knowing like what to compare and extracting the value from the all of this, right? And then every tool, right, whether it's TestNG, whether it's WebDriver.io, or whether it is this, right, or Jasmine framework and all, right? So everyone has an assertion library. In case of Playwright, again, it has an inbuilt assertion library. You do not need to import or add any external library to it, right? So for doing that, what you have to do is you have to use a method called expect. Okay, expect. Now, expect again comes from Playwright slash test library. Okay, so this is you will have to import this expect keyword again from there. What happens here is you provide here, right? What you provide something here, and then there are a lot of methods, right? So expect is like a class. Okay, it has a lot of methods here, right? One of the easiest method is to equal. So here you're trying to compare a value against something, right? Now what happens here is expect. When you say expect, right, to equal this, so here, right, what you can get is you can get your expected result here, right? Expect, I'm expecting this to equal my actual result. Okay, now actual result, as I said, right, you might get it, you might have it somewhere already stored in a variable, or let's say you want to get it on the fly from your UI, right, application. So if you already have it saved somewhere, right, then using a generic assertion will make sense, and you can just use it as is, right? When you am saying all this, right, so it also means that there would not be any need for you to use await, async await, right, for this kind of an expect, because both the values are already with you. You would have already uh, extracted them from somewhere, and now you're just comparing. So there is no need of await, no need. But there are two more assertions which Playwright provides, which gives you some handy methods, which works at a locator level, and the other one works at the page level. So here, right, what happens here is, so these are three categories, right? Generic, locator, and page. Now what happens is, locator, as the name says, locator, right? You can extract a lot of information from a locator, right? Let's say you want to get a attribute on a locator, you want to get the text of that locator, right? Or you wanted to do something around it, whether it is enabled, disabled, and all that, right? So what Playwright has done is, and generally you will be doing all this only, right? Those are your assertions. You want to extract a text of this username. What you will be doing, you will be first locating the element on the screen, then putting and then you will be doing what, get text, right, on that locator, so that you can have a value. Now Playwright is saying, why I need to do in multiple steps? I am providing you a handy method, expect, right? What you can do is, you can provide a value dot to equal, and here just write the code which will fetch the value. What will be that code? It would be like you will saying page dot locator, and then you will provide the value, and then you will say dot get that inner text, right? Let's say, so whatever value you are given, right, you get from here, it will be placed under this thing, and then you're just comparing it, right? But when you do all this, right, since it involves a sync operation, right, because it will go to the net, find the value, right? So you need to place await somewhere. Where will you put? Here only. But what, okay, so this is, you are working at the locator level, right? Locator level. Similarly, at the page level, right, at the page level, which is your this thing, right, over on the top, what can you expect? So there are only couple of methods. Let's say you want to verify the URL of the page, so there is a method at the page level, so that's a third class. Okay, or let's say you want to get the title of the page, so those are again belonging to that category. So in a nutshell, there are three types of assertions which I'll be talking about now: generic, locator, and page. Okay, and this is what you have to understand. Not, okay, let me first show you this. If you see now, right, let's go to generic assertions, right? You see, generic assertions class provide assertion method can be used to make assertions about any value in the test. Okay, it's stated by using calling expect, right? Expect value to be this, right? Like something like this. What is expect? Expect is again something like a class, right, which you have to import, right, from Playwright test. Okay, and then you will give, right, your expected value inside this. Then you will do a dot, and you can access all these methods which are mentioned here. Okay, all these methods which are mentioned here. Again, you can use any one of them based on your need, but we will cover those which I feel is more handy, and you will be using a lot. Okay, so let's start seeing them. The second thing is, like, these are, if you see, right, any of these if you use, right, there is no await, right? Because let's say you want to do some comparison, right, and you have the value, so there is no need of going to the web and extracting the value, so no await is used. But if you go to the locator assertion, right, see what you will do here. You will say expect page dot locator, right, to have text. Okay, they are doing the opposite part, so you can put it here, right, or you could do it here also. So it's the same thing. You can, it's up to us, right? It's just that you should have two values which needs to be compared. If you see, right, you are on the fly getting the value of the this locator, right? You're saying page dot locator, right? Now here, right, there are some handy methods given to you. If you see, right, I did not do here inner text, right? Because Playwright, this method of expect, right, of this locator assertions, what it will do is, it will get access to this locator, right? And then what you're doing is, you are saying to have text, right? So what it will do is, it will on the fly get the value of this locator, the inner text of it, and compare it against this value, right? If it matches, it will say pass, otherwise it will say fail. And you can see the use of await in this case. Okay, so we'll see all of these, right? And then the last thing is at the page level. At the page level, you can do only two things. You can either compare, you can either check the title of the page by doing this, right? Expect page, just the page to have title and this, right? Or if you want to get the URL of it, you will say where is the expect page to have URL this one. right? So here again, in all the cases, await is here. Let's start doing things. I think it will make a lot of sense. And what all methods we should be knowing, right? Let me, again, there are a lot of methods, but you do not have to do learn or use all the methods. Let me tell you the ones which are more important. In a nutshell, it covers almost everything, but yeah. So we're talking about generic assertions, which does not require no use of await. Okay. So what we'll do is we will expect, and then we'll provide a value, and then we will use some methods, right? What are those methods? Methods are these. Okay. Anything array containing, right? Array containing is one of the methods which you might find use of. Object containing and string containing. One, two, three. These three, yes, you array containing, object containing, and the third one is the string containing, I believe, right? That was string containing, right? String containing. Now, what do we mean? Okay, before this, let's take the most easiest one, which is 2b, right? 2b or 2 equal. Okay, so there are two methods: compare content of the value with content of this, performing deep equality. Okay, and 2b does not do the deep equality. It does what? Compares value with this. This method compares object by reference instead of their content, similar to the strict equal operator triple equal to. Okay, so we already know, right? In JavaScript, there are two modes of working, right? One is this, one is this, right? When you use this, right, what it does is it compares, it works at the value level, right? And when you use this, right, it is working at the reference level, right? You want the exact thing to be there, right? So there are two methods, equal to and 2b. So 2b works on the, it is similar to this operator, right? So here it checks on the reference base, and I believe this equal thing, right, works at the value level. This works at the value level. Okay, let's take some examples, and I think it will be clear. So I have to create a branch. Oh, I already have a branch. Test expect async page and this, right? Again, let me create a variable. I'll say let name equals to okay, right? And what we'll do is we'll get one more variable, name 2 equals to kill again. Now what we'll do is we'll do a comparison expect, right? Once you do this, right, you will see that you will have to import, or it will get automatically imported expect, right, from the playwright test. Okay, expect here, expect, then you will do what? You will provide, so it's like you're calling the constructor of the expect thing, right? And you will provide the value. What I want to compare? I want to compare name. Okay, great. Dot 2 equal, right? 2 equal, and you can check name 2, right? So what are we comparing? We are comparing this variable with this variable. Let's see whether our test case pass or fail. As you can see, right, there is no need for me to, I mean, there is no UI operation involved, right? Let's get the value. It will open the browser but do nothing, and it passed, right? It passed. Both the values are being compared, and it passed. And if we want to see the result, we'll do this npx playwright. I think show report was the one, right? Show report. So it opens the report, and if you see this equal to, right, here, okay, here it does not show you the exact value, but it does made this comparison, right? And it passed. Okay, it passed, and that's how it shows, right? Okay, great. So if you go back now to our test case, right, Now let's fail this. So if I do Akhil 1 now, right, and now I do it, I do the comparison. It will, this time it will automatically uh, show the report. You see, it failed. It failed. Expect to deep equality, right, and it failed. Expected value was Akhil 1. Okay, so this is where the expected value goes. Okay, so this is the expected value, this is the actual value, right? It received Akhil, right? So again, but the point is both values did not match. Okay, and that's why it failed. And did it show me the report? It was already serving, so that's why I did not do. Let me open the report again. We'll see whether that information is now displayed or not. You see, when the failure happened, right, then it is showing you the expected and the received value. It expected Akhil 1 to be there. Okay, this is the expected value. Okay, and this one is the received value, right? So this is like the actual value which you are giving, and this is the expected value. But again, it does not make any difference for you whether you keep it here or there, right? So this is just the nomenclature. Okay, but again, the value did not match and it failed. Okay, so this is the straightforward one, right? You're comparing two values. How to do it? You will do it this way. Let's say if you wanted to do, let's say you wanted to open the web page. You wanted to open the web page, login, and let's say I wanted to validate this text, right? Let's say I want to validate this text, whether it is login or not. So if I go there and I'll go to this path and I have login form inner, let's say Control F, login form inner dot, and then I will say H1. So it is one of one, right? So here I can get the text. So I will copy this up. I will go back to the code. What I will do is I will hit await page dot go to, and I will hit the URL, and then I will do what? I will say await page dot locator get the value dot inner text, right? You will grab it and let's store it somewhere. Let's say actual equals to this, right? And let's update our expected value. Let me remove this. Let's say expected value was, let's say I'm giving some other name. Let's say I will say let's say actually only, right? So what I'll do is I will go to the page. Or oh sorry, I did not wanted to run this. Where is our test case? Okay, let me grab it from there only. This URL. Okay, it will take now time to run it. Okay, let it complete. Oh, this also completed. Right, let's just complete this. That's fine. Hey, right. So this is the URL of it, and then I will complete. Now, if you want to use the generic assertion for this case also, right? How will you do it? You have already calculated the value, right, from the UI by using await here, right? Now, if you want, you can just use this generic one and give the values. So this is the expected value, you will give it here. This is the actual value, you will give it here. And now it will make a comparison, right? So there is again no need of doing await. Why? Because you have already done that operation earlier, right? So if you see, right, there are like two-step process. You will have to calculate the actual value first. I mean, the actual value first, and then use it in the expected assertion. At least in the generic ones, right? This is how things will be required to be done. You see, it failed, right? It said Akhil and login, right? So generic assertions works here also, right? But the only point here is that what Playwright is saying is that okay, why you need to do this? I have a better solution for you, so you can use those locator assertions or the page assertions. Okay, this is the only point I'm trying to make, right? Now let's do this, right? Let's do this thing via locator assertion, right? As an example. So what I'll do is instead of doing any of this, I will say await expect. I will take this page locator, only this part. I'll put it here and say to have text. And what text it should have? It should have this text, let's say. So what I'll do is, you can see, I will not, I will comment this out, and I don't need this, right? So what is happening? Both these operations are happening in the same line. It is first locating the element, and then it has very handy methods available where you can use them and get whatever thing you want to get from that element. Okay, and this method array, right, belongs to our locator assertions library. Okay, let's do this and see how it works. Okay, so it failed, right? You can see it failed. It failed. Let us see the report also. Okay, here is the report. You see this, right? Timed out, this one. Expected value is Akhil. The saved value is login, right? And it is making a comparison on it. And it did not match. I hope you're getting the point of me emphasizing that which one would you use, right, more often in case of Playwright, right? You might be using this one, right, if you want to use a very simple kind of assertions on particular things. Okay, if you wanted to do more complex ones, right, then generic assertions would be your best choice. Okay, now let's look into each one of them one by one. Yeah, Anand, please.
Akhil, during the explanation, you mentioned that for generic assertion, we won't be needing to wait, right?
Yes, because those are created for the place where you will not be doing any comparison between sync and async operations, right? If there was a comparison required, you would have done it already somewhere above and stored it into a variable. What generic assertions will do is they expect you to have both the values already calculated with you, and you just now want to make a comparison.
Okay, okay.
Okay, but in case of here, right, you can see here you did not what you're doing, you're just telling the locator, and then you are having some handy methods to calculate the value on the fly, right?
Okay,
So what it did, what is this? If you see, right, if you see this here, you are doing what? You are just specifying the expected value, right? Which is a kill. Are you specifying somewhere the actual value?
no,
No, right? So what is happening here is internally this method will calculate the actual value from the screen and compare that value with this, right? And then whether it match, if it matches, it says true. If it does not match, it will say false.
got
Okay.
it.
So understand the difference. Here you have to specifically provide both the values after calculation. Here you will have to do it. You here the calculation is happening on the fly, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. So let's move ahead. Playwright test report here, right? Okay. So again, I'm coming back to our generic cases, right? Generic cases. Now in the generic cases, right, we just saw the two equal part, right? Let us first understand the difference between the two. Two equal and two b. So what I'll do is, let us do one thing. Again, the comparison could be anything, right? You can compare a string, you can compare a number, you can compare an object, you can compare an array. Okay, you can compare anything. So let's do one thing. Let me get a new test case, and I will create generic expect, right? Generic expect to have a separate thing altogether. Generic expect, and I don't need any of this. Let's remove this. And what I will do is, now see this, I will create a object. Okay, I'll create an object, expected value object, and I will say ID. Let's say 34, and I will say name equals to Akhil. Okay, Akhil. And let's say I'm again comparing I'm again creating another object, which will be my actual value. Actual value id equals to this and same exact value, right? And now I will do some comparison. I will say expect actual value to equal this expected value, right? And what we'll do is we will do what? Let's run it, right? And see whether it will pass or fail. If you see, right, these are exact same things, right? These are same things, but two different objects altogether, right? So if you would check in the memory, it's a separate object and it's a separate object, right? And let's make a comparison. Okay. What I'll do is I don't need this page, right? Otherwise, because of this, the page starts, right? I don't need this page, so let me remove it. And it has passed. Okay, so the value has matched, right? Because of two equal. Now let me try to do it with 2b, right? So let's copy this out and run it, and let's say 2b. Let's make a comparison now. Here, right here, what happened was there was a comparison made, something like this. It compared this value, right? This value with, like, with double equal to. Okay. In this case, right, it will be doing what? It will be doing, in the case of 2b, it will be doing a strict comparison, which is triple equal to. Okay, which will now work at the reference level. Okay, at the reference level. So let's see whether this will pass or fail. From my understanding, it should fail. But again, let's see, right, if we get something new to learn today on this part. You see, it failed. It failed, right? It failed. Let us open the report. So I hope at least you're getting the point, right? What I'm trying to say here. These are two different objects, right? They look same, but these are two different objects, right? Having different memory address, right? In the memory in the memory over there, right? You see this? This serializes to the same string, right? If it should be deep equality, right? So it is saying, right, if it should pass with deep equality, replace 2b with this, right? They are just saying that if you want to compare the string values, right, use 2 equal. But if you would use 2b, right, you are saying that give me the exact object with which it was created with, right? So again, understand the difference between the two, right? 2 equal and 2b. They might look same, but the difference is that 2 equal work on double equal to, and 2b equals work on the 3 equal to signs, right? Which is the strictest equality of comparison which you do here, right? And in that case, it works at the reference level, not at the value level. Okay. Okay. I hope this is clear, right? Okay, great, right? So in most of the cases, right, in most of the cases, you might not be using this 2b. Okay, you might not be using this 2b. In almost every case, right, this will suffice our need, right? Because we do not, because see, right, you do not care. What are you, see, it depends on your context also, but majorly you would be writing a test case and trying to compare some values, right? And you would not want that, okay, that you are comparing some objects, right? If that is the case and you want to do something, then I mean, again, it has to be on the need basis, right? That you try to use this. Otherwise, 2 equal is the best choice for you to use in the generic ones. Okay. Now this is like 2 equal and 2b. So I hope this is clear, right? 2 equal and 2b. Here the comparison with double equal to. Here the comparison with triple equal to. Now let's focus on this one, right? Array containing, object containing, string containing. Now if I see you, right, if I ask you, let's say I have an array where the values are 5, 6, 9, right? And then ask you to compare with 5, 6, 9 again, right? Like this. Which of these options will you use? You need an exact comparison, right? Not at the reference level, at the value level. So what would be your best choice? 2 equal, right? You will be making a comparison using 2 equal. But let's say now you have something like this, right? You got an array. You got, let's say you calculated an array which has a lot of values, 100 values within it, right? You just want to make sure that, okay, whether that array contains my specific value or not, right? Let's say I just want to compare whether it has 6 within it or not. How would you do it? 2 equal, if you use 2 equal, it will say false, right? No, it is not same. It is 5 6 9, it is just 6, right? Here you have a superset out of which you want to compare a subset, right? If that is your need, then which one will work? Array containing. So here what it'll do is it is something like this. You're saying, okay, I have a superset which becomes my expected or actual value, whatever it is, right? But you're doing comparison against this value, right? So it is saying that the array which you are calculating on, right, it should contain this value within it. Array containing. Okay. If it exists, it will say true. If it does not exist, it will say false. Let's try this out.
This looks similar to like the dot contains method in
In
Java,
string, right?
in string for yeah, in string.
Right. So yes. So includes method is also available in JavaScript, right? Which checks just on the sub part of the string. But yeah,
Yeah.
here they have specifically given 3 different methods: one for array, second for object, and third for string. And these are the 3 things which you will create in JavaScript. Okay. Let's create the values also. So actual array. Let's create an array. Let's 5, 8, and again, in here, right? In JavaScript, you can create an array which holds anything which it feels like. So let's say expected array, expected array equals to, let's say I'm saying 5. Okay, 5. Let's say 8. And now I'll do a comparison. I will do expect actual array array. Uh, how do we get this array containing? Okay, what is the name of the method? This is generic ones, right? Array containing. Okay, inside this we have to use it. Okay, correct. Understood. So what we'll do is do so, and we'll set true equal, and you have to say expect dot array containing, and we'll provide the array containing as expected this. Okay, so this is how you will have to write. So the method is not directly available, right, on the constructor of the class. It is like a property of, it is like what I should say. Uh, what do we say this as? This is like, forgetting the name. Like the static method, right? Like a static method available on the class, right? So what you'll do is you will have to write something like this. You will use 2 equal only still, right? Because you want to compare the values, right? But you don't want to compare all the values. What you want to do is you have the actual array which look like this, but within that array, I just want to check whether it contains this value or not. This one, right? Like this. So let's run it and see whether it works or not. So I've removed page part also, right? Okay. Yes, Anand.
Uh, okay, like didn't get this static method reference. Can you once again explain?
See, don't focus on the static part. What you have to understand is, okay, if it should pass. Okay, it is failing. Why it is failing? Oh, I did not. Oh, this I did not comment it out. Let me just run it again, and I will explain this. Uh, it passed, right? It passed. You're comparing this with this, right? So you have a superset, and within the entire array, you just want to check whether it contains my value within it or not, right? So you will use what? Array containing. How to do it? You will say expect, provide the actual value, right, which you are grabbing from somewhere. Let's say this one, right? and then you will have to say two equal, and with that, within two equal, right, you will use expect dot. You can see I'm not using double, I'm not using something like this, right?
Yeah.
I'm not doing double here. Just a second, my okay, just give me a sec. What is the problem here? Give me a sec. There's some problem with this. Okay, just a second. Huh? Okay, so what I was saying is, so if you see, right, this array containing thing, right, is not available. Okay, what are you doing here? You're something like you're calling the constructor of the expect class, right? This is when you have to use a class. What do? You use that class name, then provide these brackets, which is a representation of the constructor call of that function of the class, and then you do a dot, right? And then you can access the methods, right? So it means like these are normal methods sitting inside that class, right? This is how you do it. What I was saying about static method is, like you static methods are those, right, which for which you can directly access it using the class name without creating the instance of the class. Okay, then. So again, I was just explaining that these methods, right, these array containing and all, like, looks like those methods, right? Because they are not available, right, through the instance of the class, but rather directly from the class. Getting it? And to use this, right, you cannot write something like this. You might be thinking, okay, since we are writing expect value here, then after this maybe I can write it like this, right? Something like this. No, this will not
Yeah,
work.
that's the thing what I
This
was.
no, this will not work, right? This will not work. Again, the reason for this is like because these methods are not available directly on the class. You can see, right, on through the instance of the class. They are available through that static thing. Okay, and again, so the way to use them is you have to say you will use two equal, which means that you do not want to do the, you just want to compare the values. So two equal, and then inside this, right, you will have to use something like this. You can just say that it's like how you have to understand to write this thing, right? Or you can just consider it as a rule that this is how things have to be done.
And is this the case just for arrays, or is it like whenever we want to do some generic? Uh,
See, there it depends on the method, right? It depends on the method which are there, right? So you will have to go and check the documentation again, right? If you see, right, it is available directly on the expect through this. If you will see something like this, it means you have to use like this only. Okay. If you
okay, so
go to
this
if you go to two equal, right, here this is what their documentation says, right? They are not exposing like how they have implemented all of this, right? And again, the way they write the JavaScript is not something which we all can understand. So it is too cumbersome. It's not like Java that you can just open it up and try to understand things. You will scratch your head if I open up the documentation, right, of the expected and everything else. So, but again, what I'm trying to tell you is, first of all, there are not a lot of methods which you need to be aware of, right? And these are very simple methods. Okay. Once we start looking all of them, you will realize that these are very simple things. What the complex part was, or things to understand was like, in case how what is two equal and two b. That's it. Deep equality and which is your strict equality, and the just the value comparison. And after that, right, there are methods that are available which are available on the class directly. For doing that, you will use two equal, and then within the two equal bracket, which is a method, you will provide that value.
and the class is expect class.
Yes, expect class, right?
Okay. So I need to be aware whenever I'm working with expect class, then there are these static methods that should be used for specific cases. Like for
Right,
example, for array, it should be array containing. If I'm working with string, then string containing object, object containing.
right, right. So this is
Over
how.
that, over that, I need to use the dot to equal or based on my based on my
Again,
record.
you don't need to remember these, right? just open the documentation and see it from there. Okay, because there are a lot of methods available. There are 50 methods over there, right? You cannot remember about everything, but I'm
Yeah.
telling you that the reasoning behind it. Okay, like you cannot change the way they are expected to use it, so you will have to adhere to what they are saying, right? But you should be knowing like why things are working in that way. That's it. And I hope you got the point.
Yeah. For now, like a straightforward answer is this is how it is designed.
Right. This is how it is done, and if you use it accordingly, right? Okay. Now, similarly, if you see, right, this is an array. If you want to do it on the object, let's say, let me get an object, and we'll say, well, this one, right? Let's say this one, this value, and let's say here, right, I am going to use name attribute only. Okay. Okay. Now, if you can see, right, my object is very big. Let's say 100 properties are existing there, right? But I do not have all the properties with me, so I cannot create that object to compare it against, right? So but what I have is I have one single property which I feel is a part of that bigger object. So I want to now make a comparison. I just want to make sure that whether my original whether ex, this object contains this property within it or not. So for doing that, you will do what? You will use something similar to this. You will say actual object do equal, you will say object containing, and you will say expected object. Getting the point? So here it will look into this entire superset of the object which contains a lot of properties, and and within it, right, it will just check this property whether it has it or not. If it contains, it will say pass, otherwise it will say false. Similarly for the string also. So let me just let actual string, let me write actual string learning playwright with what test, and if I compare it with the expected string, and I say here what test, now I want to make a comparison. I don't know, like, see, it's like that you have extracted some value from the screen, and on that value, right, you just want to, you have a a big string being given, right? Let's say there is a username inside this, and you just want to validate whether that string contains that value or not. So this will be very handy for you. What you can do is you can say actual string to equal string containing and the expected string. Okay, and this will make a comparison, and it will just check this part to exist inside the bigger set of this string, and it will accordingly say this part. Okay, I will run it afterwards, but this is how it works. So I hope this is clear now, right? Array containing, object containing, and string containing, equal, and to be. Now, to be very frank, right, these are the ones, right, which are very which is something which you might decide to use are very often. String matches a received string that in turn matches the expected pattern. So this is for the pattern. Let's say you do not, again, I'm not very good in writing a regular expression, so I will not be able to tell you like how to write something like this. But for people who want to use on a pattern side, right, so string matching can be used for that matching part. Okay, now apart from this, right, if you see, we have already seen this, these methods, to be defined, to be falsy, to be greater than, right, to be instance of, to be less than, to be nan, to be none, to be truthy, right, to be undefined, all these values are self-explanatory, right? What you have to do, if you have a variable, right, let's say if you write something like this, let name, right, equals to undefined. If you do this, right, so you, again, undefined is a value in JavaScript, right? So you are creating a variable which is where the value is undefined. Okay, or let's say you are creating a value, let's say null, right? Let's say you're saying age equals to null, right? right? Let's say you are saying let marks equals to 50, right? Now what you're doing, what you're trying to do is, let's say again you are doing some calculation, and based on the calculation you got this, right? Now you want to compare whether it is really undefined or not, right? So what will you do? You will say expect, because these are getting calculated on the fly, let's say, right? You will say expect name to be undefined. That's it. If this value here, right, is really undefined, it will pass, otherwise it will fail. Okay. Similarly, let's say I want to check whether this value is really null or not, right? And I want to check, I want to place a check against it. So you will say age to be null, right? Right. So this is how things needs to be done. Null. And then let's say boolean value, right? So let's say I have a boolean value, I'm checking something, right? And I'm saying is valid, and let's say the value came out to be true, and I want to now make a comparison whether it is really true or not. What I'll do is I'll say expect is valid to be truthy, right? To be truthy, it should be truth, it should be true, the value which this contains should be true. Let's say you want to make a comparison of falsy, so the method is to be falsy, right? So, and the last part, right, let's say this is the value, right, which you have. Let's say you do not know like whether it would be really 50, but you want to check, right, whether it is greater than, let's say you want to check on a range, right? Let's say someone gave you a range and you expect that it will be always at least greater than 50. So what you can do is, there's a method for it, the numeric assertions. You will say marks dot to be greater than equal to, less than equal to, right? So I want to check greater than equal to, so that's it. Greater than equal to be 50, right? So whatever it value is, so this will pass in this case also. If it is 51, this will also still pass. If it is 49, here is the case where it will fail, right? So again, as there is a method for this, there are methods for greater than, less than, and less than equal to. Okay, so again, there are a lot of methods, and based on your needs, you can use them. So let's say to be null, to be undefined, to be truthy, falsy, right? And so these are like, these are for boolean values, right? Something like this. If you would check to equal, right, these works on array, object, and string, right? So these are meant for these, right, for all this. So this is undefined, this is for null. If you want to compare the numbers, right, you have less than, equal to, greater than equal to, greater than equal to method, less than equal to method, right? So all these methods are for numeric kind of a comparison which you want to do. So you can see, right? So depending on what kind of data you want to compare, there are methods available, right, for the comparison. Okay, like let's say you want to check the length of the array. Let's say you want to check whether I have the array. I am not interested in checking the value. I just want to check whether it contains, what is the length of that array. So the length of the array is, let's say, 10, right? And you expect it to be 10. What you can do is you can use this 10 to have length equals to this. So you put 3 items there and you said 3, and it will pass, right? Otherwise it will fail. What else? To have property. Uh, let's say that you are creating an object. You are creating an object, and inside that object there are property called ID and name. You just want to validate whether that object contains that property or not. So what you will do is you will do something like this. You will say expect actual object to have property, and you will have to give the, you will have to give this this part, right, like something like this, right? You can just either give the, you can come, you can give both the values. Either you can give uh, what I should say, the property name only, whether that property exists or not. So you can just say name here, right? Name. Oh, what we have to do is we have to say double quotes or what? No, name. Okay, just a second. How do we do it? We say a dot b. Okay, so this is how you will do it, right? You will say name, and then you can just leave it like this. So what it will check? It will just check whether this object contains this property or not, right? If it does not contain, it will fail. Let's say you want to check both the things, property and the value. What you will do is, this is the property thing, and you will say, okay, right? Now it will make the comparison, right? Which is this value, this property with this value. I hope I'm writing in the right way. You can see key path string and the value, right? The value, second parameter. Okay. So again, it depends, right? What is your use case? Accordingly, there are a lot of methods available, and you can use. Am I missing something? No. So these are the ones, right, which you have to understand from the generic ones. Let's come to locator ones, right? Okay, one more thing, right? So if you see, right, one last thing on this. If you see, currently what I'm doing is, these are like, I'm saying, okay, that I have got some value, and that particular set of values should have this value, right? Let's say I want to do the opposite of it. I want to say that it should not have this value. It should not have this specific value which I'm trying to check. Let's say on this case, right, I am saying this is my superset 569, and I will say, okay, that this should not have, let's say 10. If I'm saying not have, right, not have, right, if I want to do not have, right, not equal to, not to be. So let's say the method is not to be, not to equal 10, right? Let's say I'm saying this. So tell me whether this will pass or fail. What is your expected result? This is my actual data, and this is what I want to compare. But I'm saying that this should not have 10. What should be the result of the assertion?
True.
True, right? So it will pass, right? And if I say 9 now, what will happen?
False. It will fail.
False. It will fail.
It will be false, right? It will fail. So how do you do this kind of an operation where you want to do the opposite of, right, of something? So whatever we learned, right, all these methods, let's say you want to do the opposite of all of them, right? So what Playwright Assertion Library does is, there is a method which you can use. You can say expect whatever you were writing till now, right? Dot equal to, dot to be, dot containing, array containing, and all that, right? You will still write all of them, but before that you will put just a not. It will do the opposite of what this was expected to be doing. Getting it? So let's say if you want to do an opposite of this operation, right? What you will do is, just copy this as is, come here and put not. Okay. This is how the negation of this will be happening. So now what we'll do is, you have this bigger object, right? You have this bigger object. You try to, if when you are reading this, right, try to, let's just ignore this note, right? So you're saying that this value, this object should be equal to, right, this kind of an operation where you are expecting this to have this value, right? So your use case is, if you are not using not is, you're expecting that this object should have name field, right? But when you started using not, right, you are expecting that it should not have the name attribute within that object. Okay. So what will happen here is, in the current case, whether it will pass or fail. Pass or fail. In this case, this part, it will fail, right?
It will fail.
It will fail, right?
Yes.
Try to read it like this. You are doing this. This is your this value, and you have what? You are saying this to have this, right? If you ignore not, this is what you want to compare, and this it exists. So it would have passed if you were not using not, right? If you were using this, right, it would have passed. Now, if you use not, right, what will happen is, earlier it was something like this, right? Now it is doing what? It is like the negation of it, right? That not equal to. Okay. So you expect that this object should not have this name attribute within it. If it does not have, it will pass. If it has, it will fail. So again, this is a very handy thing, right? Because for the negation part, they did not create separate methods. You still have to remember only the these methods which we just discussed. But if you want to do the opposite of it, just place not after it. Okay, so this is how you do generic assertions, right? Let me just collect them. If now let's talk about the other one, right? The locator assertions. Now, since I would require to get some value from the net, so let's use the page attribute also, right? And let's see the methods, right? So this is generic ones. You have to go to locator assertions, right? Now, if you see, right, these all these methods, if you do a read about it, right? See, let's say you wanted to check whether the element is disabled or enabled on the screen, right? And you want to check a assertion on it, right? So what you will do? You will do expect that locator thing within it, and then to be disabled. That's it. Just open a new board. Majorly, you would be using these locator assertions, right, for you to make some lot of very easy comparisons on a specific locator, right? So let's say I want to check, let's say on this screen, right, I want to check whether what I can check whether this email field is enabled or not, right? I want to check. In my usual case, how would I write? How would I write this? I would say await. I will first go to the page dot go to. Why it is coming this way? Oh, I did not use these parentheses there, right? I'm not in the restructuring part. Dot go to. And this URL here, right? And now what we'll do is page dot go to is this one, and what to do next? We'll now find the element, right? Let's say I do not have the locator assertions library available, right? So what would be my approach? I would say I would first work on that email field, right? How do you work on an email field? You will have to write a locator for it. You will say page dot locator, and if I remember correctly, the locator was name equals to email right? Once you have the locator, right? Let's say you have the locator. What you will do is I want to check, right? I want to check whether this is disabled or not. So there are methods available in the locator also. So you will check get not get let's say enabled is enabled, right? You are checking whether it is enabled or not. So what this will give you, you can see your email is enabled, right? So it will give you a boolean value, right? Let's say I'm checking it, I'm correcting in somewhere. Let is enabled equals to this, right? Let's say this. Now I want to put an assertion, right? So let's say since I have already now let's say the actual value, right? Let actual enabled, so not actual, expected enabled, right? Expected enabled equals to, let's say, true, right? So it's a boolean value, so it will be true. Now if you check, right, how can you use it in the generic assertion, right? You can say expect, and this is like your actual value, right? So you will say expect is enabled to equal, you can do this, right? You can say true, right? You can write it like this, or what you can do is you could have written like this: expect is enabled to be truthy. Yes or no? I hope you're getting this point, right? Using the generic assertions, you will write something like this, right, Kiran? Kunjesh?
Yes. Getting it.
Yes, Akhil.
Right? Now you can see, right? For doing this, right? For doing this, you have to write this line, you have to write this line, and then you have to write this line, right? At least three lines are required. What Playwright is saying is don't need to do any of this. Directly put into the expect page dot locator, right? And whatever you want to get from this locator, right? There are methods available. Put here to be empty, to be enabled, right? All these to be editable, right? See, to be editable, to be editable. So what you are expecting is you want this field, this locator to be editable. Just make sure that you put await after this. See, right? We were doing 4 lines over there. Now all 4 lines converted into one because of this assertion, right? Now it will expect that this locator, it will go there, check the properties of it, grab them, and you want it to be editable. So let's use it this way, right? That's it. If it is editable, it will be passing. If it does not, if it is not editable, it will fail. Now you want to do the opposite of checking that it should not be editable. What do you need to do? That's it. Okay. I hope this is clear, right?
Got it.
The negation of that operation. Okay. So you can see the ease, right? If you want to work on a specific element, you do not have to write 3-4 lines just in a single line. Everything can be done. Okay. So let's just explore the methods now, right? I hope you will get everything on that part. So to be checked, right? Let's say this will work for the checkboxes, right? You want to verify whether there is a checkbox on the UI, and let's say it is already checked, right? You just want to put an assertion that okay, was it really checked or not, right? So you will find the locator of it, and you will say to be checked. If it was checked, it will pass. Otherwise, it will fail. If you want to do a negation of it, just use not inside this. To be disabled, right? Opposite of enabled, right? To be editable, to be empty, right? That this is, it does not contain any text within it. Ensure the locator points to an empty editable element or DOM node which has no text, right? Like in this case, you can see, right? There is no text till now, right? So you can do this. To be empty, enabled, to be focused. When it is focused, like if you see, right, this email box is currently focused because I clicked on it. This is not focused, right? So if you want to check whether the some element is focused or not currently, right, and you expect it to be in focus, so you can use that method. To be hidden, let's say, right, there is a element available on the DOM, but it is not visible, right? It is not visible on the UI, so you can check it, right, through the to be hidden. To be hidden, right? You can just say to be hidden, and this is how it works. That's it. So you can see, right, all these things, right, you could have done it by yourself by writing up await locator thing, right, and then dot get attribute, inner text and all that, right? But what Playwright is saying is no, do not go through that process, rather depend on this, right? If you have a need on a specific locator, just use these methods then, right? It will internally collect all the expected value and compare it against your, it will internally collect or gather the information of the actual value and compare it against your expected value. Okay, like contain class, right? So let's say you have this one, right? You have a lot of classes within it. Let's say email field, right? Let's see, does it have a class? It does not have a class. Let's say this one, right? If you see this div tag, right, it has 3 classes within it: field wrapper, flex, and flex group, right? Somehow, let me try to write this if I can. Control C, Control F. If I put a dot on it, yes, I am getting it, and I will say div, so I will get 1 of 4. Now this is a problem here. What I will do is, do we have a class somewhere more specific so that I don't have to write it? Okay, form container null, no, form submit. This is a part of which thing? Here, right? Let's say this one, right? Button type submit. You can see there are 2 classes available. So what I'll do is I'll use this one. This is submit button type equals to submit, right? Now I have found the locator. Now on this locator, I want to check that whether this locator contains a very specific class. It has multiple classes, button primary. I want to check whether it contains a button within it or not, right? So what I'll do is, let me grab it. I will grab this, come here. I'll say await page, sorry, expect page dot locator, give the value of it. Then I will say to contain class. Let's write class. It will automatically give to contain. Oh, we have this contain class, right? What was the method? To contain class. Yes, to contain class exists. Why it is not coming up? To contain. Is it deprecated? No. Okay, maybe I'm not using it in the right way. Just a second. To contain class. Expect locator to contain class. It is not deprecated, right? Added in version 1.52. Yeah, Kiran.
I think it is added in the latest version. Are you using the latest version?
Okay, maybe not. Maybe not.
Because I had
So
joined their Discord channel, so yesterday to find out
someone was,
this.
yes, I remember. Yeah, yeah, you're right. You're right. Someone was telling about it. Okay, how do we check the playwright version? We
In
say npx playwright
package, yes, just
playwright hyphen version, right?
yes,
Let's see. Our version is what? Oh, 1.51, right?
yeah.
So our version is not the latest one. It is, and this became recently available on version 1.52. That's why my class does not have this. Okay, but you understand, right? That what you should do is to content class, and then you can provide the class name. So it will do it accordingly. If you check the text, right, to content text, it is available from version 1.2. So again, the same thing, but on the text level. So let's say this, what I should say, forgot your password. If you open this up, this is your text, right? So this is your entire text. So you can write an XPath for it, get, and you can do it to contain text, and you can just say password. So you want to check a small set from the superset. Again, similar to that object containing, string containing, all that. Now, because it is a locator one, they are giving you some specific methods on some specific attributes, right? Like class or text, right? So both the methods are available. So let me write how what we discuss, right? So at the locator assertions, you have a lot of methods, and you will write something like this. What is the signature of writing it? You will give page dot locator here, right? And specify that locator. You will put await here dot, and you will access all the methods. The methods like are these, right? So these are like you're checking some properties which will give you true and false value, right? So let's categorize them under three different buckets. So ones which will return you boolean value, return boolean value, right? Like what? To be checked, to be, is it enabled, is it editable, right? And all that. So to be enabled. So what it will do is it will find this locator and check whether it is enabled or not, right? And here, since you use it, if it is enabled, it will say pass. If you wanted to do the opposite of it, just use not to be enabled. And in this case, it will expect this to be not enabled. And if that is the case, it will pass. Otherwise, it will fail. Right? So those all these methods are for that purpose only, right? Now there are something, right, to contain class, to contain text, where if you see, right, I do not have to provide any inputs to them, right? But there are methods where I would require to feed in some inputs in the methods, and those methods are this, like contain class, to contain class, to contain text. So you will provide the text which you expect to be available inside that locator, right? Inside and for that attribute. That's it. We'll do for the text part, right? So we'll say to contain text, right? So we'll come here. We are here a href, right? So we'll do, this is a reset, right? Okay. So I'll say a contains, I'm writing an XPath for it, contains uh, at the rate href reset, right? So you can see I'm getting it. And I will do what? I will collect this out. I will collect this out, and then to have text. So we have this reset part, right? So you can copy this. Let me grab it and make it available here. And what I'll do is to contain text. To contain text, and you can why it is complaining now. To contain text, and here you will provide the value as, let's say, password, right? So as a part of this operation, what will happen is it will go to this locator and it will get the text, because you said to contain text, and it will get what? It will get this complete thing, right? Forgot your password. So this becomes your actual value, right? Within that actual value, you are checking whether it contains a password or not. And if that is the case, it will pass. Otherwise, it will fail. If you want to do the opposite of it, just say not. Okay. Let's just very quickly check this on the locator part. So let's run this. Okay, it passed, right? Passed. Let me just show you the report. Okay, so this is the report, and this is the locator assertion. To contain password, right? You can see it passed, right? It passed. If it would have failed, then it would have given you the entire breakup of expected and actual value. Okay, so let's come here to contain text. So if you want to do an opposite of it, you will say dot not, and let's see this result. There is a timeout involved, right? Even in this operation, it checks once, then it will again check it, right? So that is how things goes. If you see, right, this is your received string, and you do not want this word to exist inside it, but it does, right? So it failed. Okay. So this is another method here, right? And what are the other methods available? To have class, right? So here it will be like an exact class which you need to provide. So to have count, right? Ensure the locator is also an exact number of DOM nodes. So let's say you have you want to check the number of drop down options, right, in a drop down. What you can do is you can write a locator for getting to the option tags within that drop down. And what will happen is you can do a 2f count. Let's say our country drop down, let's say we want to make sure that it has 6 values within it or not. So what you can do is, instead of checking the value, you are just checking the quantity. So this 2f count will make sense. To have css, if you want to check some css property, right, you will say you will use the property name and the value of that property. So accordingly it will check. If you want to compare on the id attribute, so you can check whether there is a I mean, right, in our case, like if you see this email, I don't think there is an id. It's a name attribute, right? So if you had an id attribute, it would have worked there, right? To have text, right? So let's say you want to check some text like this one, right? Sign in, right? Or this forgot your password, whatever is written in the text box of the DOM, right? Like if I should check this one, where is it? Sign in, right? So if you want to compare this text, right, as it is, so you can do what? To have text, right? So it will do a exact comparison. If you want to compare a subset of it, you will use what? To contain text. Okay. So again, if you see, right, all these methods is how this all works, right? And this is what you need to understand. Okay. So again, there are some methods within which you will not provide any inputs, and there are some, right, where you will provide the required value based on what you're trying to use. So like here, you will just provide this, right? In text, again, you will provide the value which you have to compare. To have text is another method. To have ID, right? So again, you have to provide the text. It will find the value on the fly and compare it against this value, exact value, and it has to match. Otherwise, it will fail. And all these methods can be negated by using dot not. I hope this is clear, right? All these methods. Now the last part, if you go to the page assertions has only two methods to remember. One is title and the URL. What you can do is, let's say this page, right? If you come up here, and I want to do a page assertion, right? And I want to check the URL of my page. What you can do is await, expect, only give the page reference, right? Not any locator or something, just the page reference, because it's a page locator. It's a page assertion. Okay, and here what we'll do is to have title. What is the title of my page? Title is the page is login, right? So what will now it will do is, this is your expected value. Actual value will be grabbed internally by this method. It will make a comparison with this value. If it matches, it will pass. Otherwise, it will fail. If you give login 123, it will not match. It will fail. Similarly, the URL, right? So to have URL, and URL has to be this one. You will do this comparison. Okay. Now, okay, login thing, right? Let's run this and see whether it works or not. Okay, so this passed, right? So both the values are matching. Now, one thing which I want, okay, so first of all, these are all the assertions which you have to understand. I hope they are clear to you and you understood them, right? Now, one thing which you should understand is, like, if you have multiple assertions being placed, right? What happens if the let's say this one gets failed? Will the next one be even evaluated? And what will happen to the status of the test case? Okay,
Oh,
so
fail.
so let's say if you have this test case where you have assertion 1 and assertion 2, right? If let's consider the cases, right? So these are the cases. Let's say both of them passed. So your test case entirely is passed. Okay, this is one thing. So what happens is, if this test case has passed, it will move to the next line and it will execute this assertion also, right? Let's say this passed and this failed, right? So because this passed, it was able to move to the next assertion and it was able to execute them, but somehow it failed. What is your status of the test case? It still failed, right? The third case, let's say the first assertion failed. What will happen? Will it even go to the next line of code to run things for the test case? No, it will not go. And it will just mark your test case as failed and just run till this step. Because your assertion failed, it means your test case has failed. It will just come out of this and not execute the remaining steps. Okay, let's see this case. This is very important to understand. So let's say I'm writing some code. Let's say console.log till then what test, right? If I'm writing this thing, and let's say I will fail this assertion here, right? Let's see what will happen to our case, whether it will go here or not. As per my expectation, it should stop here only, because your test case has failed. There is no point in going ahead and doing any other execution. Okay, so this is called hard assertion. Okay, if it failed, you stop there, you mark the test case as failed, you will skip the remaining steps and come out of this. The default nature is that it's a hard assertion. Similar to like Selenium, right? Or WebDriver IO also. Everyone works on that hard assertion part by default. But let's just observe. Maybe I could be wrong somewhere. Let's see. It's trying to do something. It, you see, it failed. It failed, right? Let us see the report. Does it open the report? Where it went? Come on, man. Okay. My report was already running. Let's open the report now. If you see the terminal also, the debug console, you're not seeing Akhil Jain pod test. So it is also, you can remember, right, that piece of line did not got executed. Let's see here also. If you see these steps, right? To have title, right? You ran this step, page.go to, and the assertion failed here, right? What was the error being? This is the error information about it, right? That you expected this value, but it gave you this, right? And because of it, it failed, right? It failed. It is giving the line number. Now, what is happening is, if you see, there were other codes pending to be executed. They did not got executed, right? You can see they did not got executed. This line did not got executed. You cannot see this printed. Otherwise, or let's say even this assertion, right? Otherwise, if it was executed, it would have been shown in the report also. I hope you're getting the point again, right? That what are hard assert and how does the assertion works if it fails. Okay, do we have a soft assert in Playwright? The answer is yes, it does have. And what does soft assert means? So these will work as is, right? Let's say we are putting some soft assert, and both these assertion pass, so it will pass. And in this case also, right? If one pass and another fail, it will fail. What about this case? In the case of soft assert, if this failed, will it go to the next step? It should, right? Because it's a soft assert. And let's say it passed or failed, right? Let's say it passed, so overall status is fail. Correct? But in the case of soft assert, it does not stop the execution. It still goes ahead and does the remaining steps. Okay. So now it depends on your objective, whether you want to continue once you faced an issue, or you want to stop there itself. So accordingly, you will make a choice. Now, how to put soft assert? For putting a soft assert, what you have to do is you will go here into the expect. That's it. What it does is it keeps collecting all the values, right? And in the end, once the execution will complete, right, it will just it will collect all the assertions, right, the results of it, and it will check whether if everything passed, it will mark the test case as passed. If even one failed, right, it will mark the test case as failed, but it will not stop the execution. So let's run it and see. You see, this time it printed that Akhil Jain pot test, right? Leave a console where it went, test results. You see, Akhil Jain pot test. This time it printed this, right? Because it failed here, but it still moved ahead, right? It still moved ahead to run the execution, right? And you can see there's a time being also mentioned, right? So it took it tried it for 5 seconds. Then it ran, since it failed, it would have logged it, and then it moved ahead, right, and ran this line, and then it moved to this line and did what? It executed, and it passed here, right? This one passed, but the overall status is marked as failed because, right, at least one assertion failed. But with the soft thing, it did complete all its steps. Let's run the report and see the result also. Here, right, if you see, let's expand this. You see now, right, to have title has failed. Okay, this has failed, and this is the error representing it, right? But you can see even to have URL executed, right? It got executed. If you compare to the previous report, if I have it opened, I close it? Okay, I could close. So there it was not there, right? So this is what you have to understand about assertions from Playwright. So there are 3 levels: generic, locator, and page. If you have let's say, the locator will help you if you want to work on a specific locator, and you do not have to write a lot of logics around it. There are handy methods given. You can just use them and work on a specific locator and put some assertions. You know how to now negate a particular assertion by putting a dot after it, dot not after it, right, after the expect. So it will do the opposite of what that assertion was doing. And then there is a page locator which works at the page level. At the page level, there are only two things you can check, either the title or the URL. And there is a third thing which is generic, which does not involve any async operations. If you want to work on a value, you will have to grab them already somewhere, the actual and the expected value, and then use it in the expect part. Those generic assertions would make a lot of sense if you want to do a very complex assertion, right? So what you will do is you will collect all your actual results somehow somewhere and expected results somehow somewhere, and then you can compare it using the generic assertion. And in the real frameworks, you will see that getting being used, okay, with generic assertions. But for that, you should know that what is the difference and how to work on it. And the last part, there is a hard assert and a soft assert. Hard assert, as it says, if you have multiple assertions and let's say at any point of time any assertion failed, right, the remaining steps would be skipped and no other and it will just mark the test case as failed. There is something called soft assert. What it means is if that assert still failed, it will not stop the execution, it will continue its path, and then in the end it will look at it will keep collecting all the results, and in the end it will, if even one assertion failed, it will just mark the test case as failed, and that's it, right? So these are the three things, right, or overall thing which you should know about the assertion library in Playwright. I hope it is clear.
Yes.
Great. Okay, so I wanted to cover screenshots, but let's keep it for tomorrow. We'll look at into that part tomorrow, okay? And maybe tomorrow itself we'll start the framework design. We have to see how to take screenshots and how to attach it in this report. If you see, right, currently this report does not have any screenshots. You can see all it has is the text, right? If you want to attach some screenshots to it, how do we do it? We'll see that part. Okay, there is one more thing, right? The tracer viewer. So that is another thing which we'll discuss tomorrow. So maybe tomorrow we'll spend a time on this only. Screenshots, attaching that screenshot to a report, and third is the trace viewer. Okay, three things, and maybe from Wednesday onwards we'll work on the framework design. And I think 3-4 classes are enough for us to complete our framework design also. And in the next week we'll do the CI/CD part. I wanted to include GitHub Actions, but last time when I tried it, I had some issues, so I did not cover it as part of Selenium. But I will see if I'm able to fix that issue. I will cover it. Otherwise, I will show it on the Jenkins side. Okay, the CI/CD part. Okay. Okay. So, okay. Any questions? Anything? Otherwise, we are good to close the call for today.
No.
No questions. Okay. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.